Give me a second to get that. There we go. Hey, everybody. Of course, I'm Doc G, and you're tuned in to the mayor of rock and roll. And here's the mayor of rock and roll and his guest, Sal Searchia.
Yeah, baby. How you doing, Brother Gene?
I'm good, brother.
Thanks. We got a great show tonight. We got Brother Ivan, Funkboy, a friend of mine for a long, long time. We've jammed together many times in the clubs. And all the times I jammed with him, I never knew what a legend he was. I had no idea of the people he played with.
Maybe I wasn't a legend then. Who knows?
Yes, you are, because, I mean, you were playing with people even back before I met you. I met you, I think, like early 90s. And Ivan, which I'm calling you Ivan, but he goes as Funkboy, but his real name is Ivan Funkboy Bodley, right? And Ivan is not only a great bass player, musician, and a great guy, but he's also a music director for many stars. Over 60 stars. I'm going to say some of these real fast because I don't want to. In order to introduce Ivan with all the people he's worked on, probably need 3 hours. So I'm going to do this fast as possible. He has worked. I wrote it down too. He's worked with over 60 rock and roll Hall of Famers inductees, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And just some of the names are like, people like Sam and Dave. Sam Moore from Sam and Dave, Martha Reeves, and the Vandellas. The Shirelles, which I grew up with, loving the Shirelles. I had the album with one where they're sitting on the cover with they had on that label that had the little penguin, right? The Crystals, the Tokens, and Gene. You probably love a lot of these people.
Oh, I love them.
Also performed with Sting, Elvis Costello, The Temptations, Benny King, Bo Diddley, and one that he didn't mention on his website, which I was at the show. And you were the bass player for Peter Wolf from the Jay Giles band.
You're right. Hey, when you're right, you're right.
After you're saying, I would just say, oh, I better add that to my list. I was at that gig, and I went backstage with you guys, and because I knew Peter Wolf as well. And I said, Ivan, what are you doing here? Ivan was playing bass for Peter Wolf from Jay Giles band. Also, Buster Poindexter, Eddie Floyd, the Uptown Horns with a couple of friends of mine. Paul Rogers, Wynonna Judd, David Foster. Man, and let's have a big hand for brother Funkboy, Ivan Funkboy Bodley.
I'm exhausted just listening to that. That can't all be me.
What an introduction.
I figured Gene didn't know this stuff. He didn't know. I'd be probably like, what?
It was amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So recently, I mean, he just recently tell us some stories. He's got some great stories because recently he was at a place in the Hamptons, and while he was there hanging out, who popped up? Ivan, who popped up on the stage with you guys?
I don't remember.
Paul McCartney.
Oh yeah, that one.
Out of nowhere, all of a sudden I see Ivan on the stage with Paul McCartney. I was like this. No.
As soon as he walked up on stage, everybody took out their phones and did this to the stage. Like that clip went viral the next day. It was crazy.
Oh yeah.
It was
we got a lot of
magazine.
People watching.
It was everywhere.
And then Joanne Phillips is watching right now. Also great. She's a big fan of yours. She's a great bass player as well. Joanne Phillips. I don't know if you know her. We got to give her a little shout out. Joanne Phillips is watching right now. And don't forget Paul Ali. Shout out to Paul Ali, who does all the great posters with the music and the cool psychedelic posters. So, Ivan, tell us a few things of, I don't know, what would you like to start with? Like the way you want us to ask you a certain question, or like
it's hard to know because it's my life. I'm just kind of living it one day at a time, and these things happen, and then it goes on the resume, and you're like, okay, so yeah, I played with Paul McCartney for 6 minutes, so that counts, right?
Gee, are you kidding me? How many people could say they jam with Paul McCartney? I mean, there's a lot.
6 minutes longer than a lot of people have played with Paul McCartney, but it was part of the gig. The gig was Andrew Watt and Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers have a band called the Smith Watt Steakhouse. And we've done about 3 or 4 of those gigs now. And every time we do, Andrew, has 6 Grammys so far as producer of the year. I've known him since he's 16 years old. He's from Great Neck. The first time he ever recorded was out at Richie Canada's place, and me and Kevin Burgandy were playing drums for him. So, we've just sort of been in touch over the years, and he called me. He's got this gig at Stephen Talkhouse in Amagansett, and we had to rehearse out in Montauk at Chad Smith's place, and I was like, the other guitar player was G.E. Smith. He wanted me to hire a couple of the Uptown Horns to play with us, and a keyboard player friend of mine, Ben Stivers. And we're just doing a gig. It was a cover tune gig at this tiny place. The Talkhouse holds, you've been there, 250 people tops,
Mm-hmm.
And when I walked on stage, to go plug in my bass to start do the top of the show, 15 feet across the stage, sitting there at the edge of the bar, was Sir Paul McCartney. I'm like, uh-oh, there he is. And I think they knew he was coming. Chad and Andrew and Watt knew he was coming. I didn't know he was coming, but I was like, all right, I got to put my head down and got to do my job. Just because the gentleman that invented the entire vocabulary of modern rock bass playing is sitting 15 feet away from me, I cannot pay attention to that. I'm working for Chad Smith. I'm working for Andrew Watt. I have a job to do, right? So I just kept my head down, and we did a show. The show was almost 2 hours long. A lot of great cover tunes. We were doing Bowie and Zeppelin and Prince and Hendrix, everything. It was great.
Oh, yeah. It's on YouTube, too. You could see a clip. I think the ones I saw it standing there.
Yeah. So at the end of the show, we're playing Keep On Rockin' in the Free World, the Neil Young cover.
Right.
And Charlotte Lawrence is Andrew Watt's fiancée, girlfriend, and she's an actress, singer, songwriter. She's a great performer. She did 3 songs with us during the show. So she came up for the encore, to sing with the band because she was already part of the show, right? So she's dancing around. She got the wireless mic, and we're singing "Keep On Rockin' in the Free World." And she looks over, and Sir Paul McCartney, who's been there just pleasantly all evening, just watching the show and singing along to himself, and occasionally taking pictures of the stage and whatever, just enjoying his night with his family, whatever. He's just singing to himself, "Keep on rocking in the free world." So Charlotte's got the wireless microphone, "Keep on rocking in the free world." So she just walks over to Paul McCartney and does this. Just holds out her hand. And he took her hand. And he stood up. And we're like, uh-oh. Everybody on stage is like, uh-oh, he's standing up. Now what's going on? So he walks up on stage, and he wants to sing with Charlotte on the microphone. Why wouldn't she? She's 6 feet tall. She's a goddess. She's an unbelievable human being. So we're singing "Keep On Rockin' in the Free World." Keep in mind, we're at the end of the song. The song's over. We're already over time. It's going on too long. But we don't want to stop because Paul McCartney's on stage. We want this moment to extend for as long as it possibly can.
Exactly.
But we've absolutely overstayed our welcome. And keep rocking the free world. We're in the key of E minor at this point. So we go round and around and around, and finally we're like, there's just nothing more we can do. So we're vamping, and suddenly Sir Paul says, in his famous Liverpudlian accent, he said, "I've got it. Last number. Well, she was just..." And that's as much advance notice as we had to know that we're going to transition into C. So we're standing there in the key of E major, same root key, but suddenly we're minor to major, and the whole band went turned on a dime, and then as soon as he walked out, everybody's phone came out.
Oh my God!
That's the YouTube clip that you saw. It was in People magazine. It was in Rolling Stone magazine. It went viral all over the world. It was in New York Newsday. I heard people say they heard about it on 1010 Wins. They were hearing it on news radio. I was like, wow, I guess he doesn't do that a whole lot, just go sit in with people. But it was a
now when he was sitting at the end of the bar, did a lot of people know it was him, or a lot of people just didn't realize?
It's Paul McCartney, but it's in Amagansett, right? So he lives in Amagansett. He's got a place in Amagansett. So people see him, they know him. He's a local there. And they also know that they're not going to bother him because he's with his family or he's with the security detail. I don't think he had a security detail that night, but everybody's leaving him alone. He's like on the side of the stage by the soundboard. He's not really in the general population. So he's just enjoying his evening. Everything is fine. And then all of a sudden, when he popped up on stage, suddenly the dynamic of the room changed immediately. The whole place went like, uh-oh, hey, wait a minute. This was a fun gig, but now it just got real. It was fun.
You know what it is with a guy like Paul McCartney. I mean, he's never going to get old. I mean, he just loves it, and he'll be doing this till the end. I mean, he'll always just show up at places, and he was one of the Beatles, and this is what he's been doing all his life. So it's like he can't just sit home now and just watch TV. He'll just end up at some neighborhood pub just to be able to get up and sing again.
I mean, but I don't think he does it very often because of this, because it goes viral immediately when it happens. So he did it, and again, because of Watt. Watt is like a superstar producer right now. Like he's worked with Sir Paul. There's a new Sir Paul song on the Rolling Stones album that Andrew Watt just produced, the Cackney Diamonds. There's a Paul McCartney song on there. So they have like a personal, professional association already. So again, he just showed up at the gig, but we weren't expecting to sing. Just enjoy the evening and nice. So then after this thing happened, and we're all kind of like, we didn't walk off stage. We kind of floated off stage. We're like, what just happened? And then he came back to the dressing room to talk to us. And, so we each got a moment to just sort of, look him in the eye, shake his hand and say, that was wonderful. Nice to meet you. This, that, and the other thing. I said, I would have given you my bass, but it's, I'm a righty, so he plays lefty. I said, I would have given you my bass, but it's the wrong way around, So
yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
It was a lovely evening. Just really nice.
And my condolences also on the guy who just passed away, tip of my tongue, that you played with. Yeah, my condolences. I mean, you were friends with him. Besides, you played with him many times, right?
I was Sam Moore's music director for 13 years on the road. I've known him 29 years. I met him in 96. He just passed away at age 89, which was a good long run for somebody who had, he lived the rock and roll lifestyle through the 70s, 60s and 70s for sure. Like the fact that he lived through that, was kind of amazing. And then to have such a long and storied career afterwards. And again, I was his conductor and music director for 13 years on the road until he retired from doing full concerts at age 80. So that was 9 years ago. And he would still go out and do like special guest star spots, He was singing right up until the very, very end. The thing that is interesting about Sam is he's a true first tenor. He has this amazing instrument. Like his voice was just astounding. He didn't warm up. He didn't practice. He just opened his mouth and that thing came out, And because he was a generation ahead of all these big rock stars, just sort of in my time with him, standing next to him, he would get approached by these giant rock stars you would think would have these huge egos, but they would always come down like bowing down before him like we're not worthy kind of vibe, So, and it had nothing to do with me. I just happened to be standing there, right? But standing next to Sam, I met Bono, The Edge, Springsteen, Robert Plant, Paul Rogers, Elvis Costello, like all these people just wanted to come up and just sort of like pay homage to him. I didn't play with most of those people, but they just wanted to be in his orbit because he was such an important figure. They became like fanboys anytime he was around, So it was a remarkable thing to do so much work with him. And there's a video you can see on YouTube of us playing at the 2008, I think, Tokyo Jazz Festival in front of 5,000 of our closest friends. Broadcast live on Japanese television, and we have a 15-piece band up there with the great Tony Lewis on drums, and it was like the pinnacle of that whole thing, and it just happened to be captured on video too. So,
and I had just recently watched that, and when I heard that he passed away, what was it? When he passed away, about a week or two ago, two weeks ago,
January 10th. And the reason I know that is because January 10th was also 5 years ago was the day my own father passed away. Oh. And they were both the same age. So he was almost like a surrogate dad to me on the road for many years. So, the fact that
that had to be really sad for you. So I thought of you right away when I heard, oh my God, I said, Ivan played with him for a long time. I just had to watch that. Ivan also has a book out, Gene. It's called, I got the book right here. What's it called? What am I reading? I don't have my glasses on. Yeah, it's called Am I Famous Yet? Memoir of a Working Class Rock Star. And you could get it on Amazon. I think You could find it on eBay, a bunch of places. Plus your website. Where can they find your book, Ivan?
It's anywhere you want to find it. Amazon's the easiest way. My website is funkboy.net, Funkboy, funkboy.net, and it's got links to everything. So, but Amazon is the quickest, easiest way for everybody. It comes in paperback, hardback, Kindle edition. It's on audio version on YouTube. You can find it anywhere. It's around.
And you also, I saw. You know what I saw on eBay? I saw Ivan Funkboy guitar picks.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How much are they getting for those?
Oh, Gene Pop pulled something up. What did you pull up here, Gene?
I'm pulling up his page. It's not coming up though. Hold on.
Oh, there goes the picks. Look.
There's the picks.
Yeah. I think I might have one of those. I got a box full of picks in my thing. Yeah. And I think I have yours. I have John Paris. I have Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick. So I have a bunch of picks that Nile Rodgers and all these people.
John Paris is the guy who really sort of inspired me to do this, because when I would see John, out at the China Club or whatever, he was always handing out guitar picks, and I was like, that's a great idea. So I actually stole this from John Paris, and it's been my business card for 30 years. So you absolutely have one in a box somewhere. You must have one. As long as
I definitely have yours and John Paris. That is the book Gene just pulled up on the screen there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's the website.
Oh, the website, okay.
Funkboy.net, yep. It's got links to all the music. There's a picture of me and Sir Paul.
Yeah.
There's a picture of me and Wayne Newton.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Cool stuff, huh?
So amazing stuff. So let me ask you a question, Funkboy. When you started out in music, did you ever think that you were going to become the way you are right now?
No. There's no way. There's no way to know. I mean, the thing that happened this year, and again, most of this is thanks to Andrew Watt and Chad Smith, but the thing that happened this year was like I started my first high school talent show when I played in the gymnasium at my high school. We were playing in cover bands, and I was playing music by The Police and Rush and the Rolling Stones and Pat Benatar and Tommy Two-Tone. This will give you an idea of the date we're talking about.
Yeah.
Elvis Costello, people like that, right? So this year, December 12th, we did a Christmas party. This Smith-Watt Steakhouse band that I was telling you about. We did a Christmas party for a hedge fund that rented out the entire Capitol Theater in Port Chester. And we were the house band, and their special guests were Roger Daltrey, Eddie Vedder, Elvis Costello, Billy Idol, Iggy Pop. So we backed up all these guys playing music that I had played at my very first high school talent show.
Wow, that's so cool.
You know what I mean? Like there's no possible way to be standing in a gymnasium in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and think like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to play this song again, but I'm going to play it with Sting. It's impossible. There's no possible road for that to happen. Not in any way, shape, form. So, I can only tell you what happened by looking in the rearview mirror. Like, because when I went to Tulane University in New Orleans, and the first job I got in the music business was working as a publicist, not as a musician, working as a publicist for Epic Records. So I met a lot of these folks sort of like, on the business side. Did that for about 3 years, half in New York, half in LA. And then at that point I decided, like, if I really wanted to be creative, I think I want to try to be a player. So I turned in my corporate Amex card that I had. It was the first job I had out of college. I was a puppy. I was 21 years old, I gave them back the corporate Amex card. I said, I'm dropping out. I'm going to go be a musician. They're like, okay, good luck to you, pal. And they were right to say that, because the odds are absolutely against you. And then I decided, I went to live in England for a little while and played like in pubs and whatnot. But I decided, like, if I really want to make a go of this, I think I need to get educated musically, because I just had studied privately with some people, and there were and I'd been playing, semi-pro gigs in New Orleans, where I was in school, but there are a lot of gaps in my musical education. So I wanted to sort of like fill in the gaps and give myself like at least the tools to succeed. Still, there's no guarantee you're going to succeed,
Mhm.
So I went to Berklee College of Music late in life. I was probably 25, I think, when I went. Like I'm old man already, 25, going to music college, right? I got out of there, as quickly as I could. I had some transfer credit. I had some placement credit. Like I got in and out of Berklee with a degree in like 18 months. It was really on the fast track because I knew I wanted to sort of be back in New York and get that thing. So when I graduated Berklee, I had a plan. Here's the career plan. It was going to be like a fusion jazz kind of guy. That was going to be my main thing. For sure, I was going to play at Madison Square Garden. I was going to play at Saturday Night Live, The Tonight Show, and David Letterman. Those are the four things that were going to happen. Those are my career goals. 30 years later, I can tell you with certainty, not one of those things happened. Not one.
But
Other things happened. Other things happened. And again, I can only tell you, looking in the rearview mirror, what happened. But all the best laid plans were like, nope, none of that's going to happen, and good luck to you. So, yeah, so here we are.
Yeah.
wow.
And also, Ivan, right now there's I don't know if you've seen it, Gene. It's on YouTube. There's a video of on stage with Roger Daltrey. They're doing Pinball Wizard and a bunch of other people. A guy from, who else is on the stage, Ivan?
That was Iggy Pop, Billy Idol, Elvis Costello, Eddie Vedder that night.
And Eddie Vedder too, right, from Pearl Jam, I thought.
Yep.
Wow. And it's amazing because it freaks me out. Roger Daltrey is one of my idols. I mean, he's the reason why I started singing. And the funny thing is, I know so many people. I mean, we've been friends a long time, and I know everybody. But yet, I'm good friends with Julian Lennon. But he knows Paul McCartney. But I never was able to meet Paul McCartney. And I was good friends with John Entwistle from The Who, but I never got to meet Roger Daltrey. It was like, it's so crazy how you're so close, but yet so far.
John used to come down to the China Club, right?
Yeah, all the time.
Right.
And they had a party for me at the Le Barbat. Remember Le Barbat?
Sure, of course.
In 1994, Matt had a party for me there for my birthday, and everybody was there. John Entwistle from The Who, Simon Townsend, Jason Bonham, Bobby Chenard, Noel Redding from Jimi Hendrix, and we were all jamming. At my birthday party. It was incredible. Yeah. But yet, Roger Daltrey, every time I came to the China Club, they said Roger Daltrey was here. He just left. I'm like, oh, God, I want to meet Roger Daltrey. And he's the reason why I got into, I was a Beatle maniac and Elvis and Beatles, but the reason why I actually started singing when I saw Roger Daltrey singing on the beach in the movie Tommy. I'm free.
Sure.
That got me so hyped up that I
last year they revived Tommy on Broadway. I don't know if you heard about this. So that was they did originally produced in 1993. It ran for about 2 or 3 years back then. So they revived it last spring, and I got to play in the pit at Tommy on Broadway. So I'm playing all those songs, all the songs from Tommy,
Wow, I didn't know that.
Life's full circle kind of moment, I'm like, it was really heavy to me. And Townsend came down one day, like when the Tonys were around, and I met him at the after party, and I just got a picture like me and Pete hanging out. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm playing your show. He's like, oh, very nice, great. I don't know. So,
it's
amazing. I began last year playing Pinball Wizard in the pit on Broadway. And I ended last year playing Pinball Wizard with Daltrey at the Capitol Theater. So that's
amazing. I just want to tell you a little story. I mean, this is not about me, but I have to tell you, we're on the subject of Tommy. The original show, Tommy, my friend Donnie Kerr, who was the Pinball Wizard in the original show, his wife was the casting director for Tommy, and they wanted to put me on the show. They said, but I would have to cut off all my hair because we got to do the wig changes.
Right.
I didn't do it like a schmuck because I didn't want to cut my hair. But his wife, Donnie Kerr, you know Donnie Kerr, don't you? Yeah, Donnie Kerr. And his wife was the casting director for Tommy. And we were sitting in the China Club office. And she said, Sal, you want to be in the show? You could sing. You could dance. I said, really? I started getting nervous for that. She said, the only thing is you have to cut your hair really short because we need to, get into it.
Hey, man.
And I said, and I didn't do it.
Did they let you know that hair grows back?
Huh?
Did they tell you that hair grows back? You can cut it. Right back.
I'm a mama. I've turned down so many things you wouldn't believe. In my time, I turned down so many gigs for things, and And movie things too. I've turned down because I didn't want to wake up early. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Where does it shoot? How much? What time was it shoot? No.
Yeah. Oh man,
No.
I remember being at the China Club, and Joe Spinell said, "Sal, I want to put you in the movie. You come to." I said, "What time are you gonna be there?" He said, 6 a.m. I said, "You're out of your mind. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I ain't going no place. I'm going home. First, we'll go to Chinatown and get some wonton soup, and then I'm going home. Just sit with a few rats, by your legs."
Going down to Woe Hops, man.
Exactly.
You got to remember, it's only one sacrifice. But then once you're in a movie like that, you're like, everybody knows you.
Well, everybody makes those mistakes. I mean, my friend Anthony Chisholm.
I understand your feelings.
Everybody. I mean, my friend Anthony Chisholm, who was on Oz with me, he said, "Sal, he made a big mistake. He passed away, but he said there was a little kid who wanted to put me in the movie, but he couldn't pay me." And I said, "No, I don't work for free." He said, "But come on, if you do my movie, I'll help." And he turned him down, and that little kid was, what's his name? Spike Lee.
Oh, yeah.
And when he was just starting out, and Spike Lee, now when Spike Lee got big, he said, "I'll never use Anthony Chisholm in my movies because he didn't help me when I needed help." Who's that? Who's asking the question there? Who's that?
Who's Larry? Is that Larry, our friend Larry from the, whatchamacallit?
Larry Mitchell? It could be.
Or the other Larry. There was another Larry, too.
Happened in, what did it say? What happened to the
original show at 7:30? We decided to move it to 9 o'clock because it didn't work for Sal or me.
Oh, some people. What does it show? I think it shows on your page, Gene, that it says we go on at 7:30. But Joanne Phillips said the same thing before. I don't know.
No, I can't. I have it set at 9. I can't say it at 7:30.
Right, exactly. I don't know why. That's
how do they see something else when it says 9 o'clock?
And also, I gotta say, Ivan is also officially recognized. Ivan is also officially recognized and inducted as a great blues artist from the New York in the Blues of Hall of Fame. Right?
That's
he has
true.
the Hall of Fame
That's
as a great blues artist from the Blues Hall of Fame. That's really cool. That's really nice.
I feel a little young to be in any Hall of Fame, but I got the plaque. It's up here on the wall.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I saw it on your website.
If they give it to you, take it. I mean, you paid your dues. You paid your dues, man.
Absolutely. That was really nice. We did an induction ceremony at the late great Kenny's Castaways.
Oh yes, Kenny's Castaways. I played them many times.
Yeah,
they're gone, Kenny's Castaways. Yeah, but you still go to the bitter end every Monday night, don't you?
Not every Monday, but I sub in the house band occasionally. I was there this week, so I'm around. I'm definitely on Bleecker Street. I play at the Red Lion every other Thursday with a band called Days of Wild. I was just subbing with Binky Grip Tights, Binky Sunday School Jam last Sunday at the bitter. I was at the bitter end Sunday and Monday this week. So yeah. I'm around.
And Richie Canada's still doing it?
Richie's been ill for the last year or so, so the jam is carrying on in his name. Like we're holding the flag for him, so we're waiting for him to come back. But he had a heart problem. It was pretty bad. Kind of took him out for a while. But he's on the road back. I just talked to his son Aaron Monday, and he's like, it's a long, slow process, but he's on the road. So we're great. We're glad.
He's the only one. Richie Canada is the only one that calls me the mayor of New York. He doesn't know. Forget to say the mayor of rock and roll. He goes, "Hey, the mayor of New York." I've jammed with him many times as well. We've jammed together, me, you, at Triad, right? Me, Ivan, Rich Canada, Bobby, Nathan, Joe at the Triad Club. That's where
the Dark Star Lounge.
Yes, the Dark Star Lounge.
That's right.
We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back a long way now. Not that long, but you're still a young guy. But now, when you decided to play music.
Yeah.
Was it the bass your first instrument that you wanted to play?
I dabbled a little bit as a much young. I came to the bass kind of late. I didn't pick it up till I was a senior in high school, so I was 17 years old. So, you hear about these kids that all go to conservatory.
Oh, he froze.
Oh, he froze up. Oh, no.
He froze. It's probably the winds.
That wasn't for half a minute. I guitar keyboard for like, the wind. Played piano for like 10 minutes, and none of it stuck, Mm-hmm. But then when I was a senior in high school, I remember seeing Rick James on the Midnight Special.
Oh, man.
Right? doing a song called "You and I."
Yeah.
There's this 4-note bass line, 4-note ostinato bass line, and there was a kid at my high school who had a bass and only had 2 strings on it. It only had the E string and the A string, and that's all you needed to play this Rick James song. And I picked it out by ear, and I was like, I think I might could do this maybe. Like it spoke to me,
Yeah.
So then I found a friend of mine, my friend Rick Lazarus, he's the advanced stage manager for Luke Combs on his stadium tour. My friend
Luke
Rick is
Combs?
the guy who builds the entire stage. He gets there at 4:00 in the morning, tells the union guys where to put the rigging and the whole thing. He builds their whole stage. He sold me his used Fender Precision bass. I've got it's a 1978 Fender P bass. He sold it to me for $475 and charged me $15 a lesson to teach me how to play it. And I was like, I'm in. Let's do it.
Now, Luke Combs, he's a country artist, isn't he?
Huge. He's doing
Huge.
stadiums right now.
Now, a friend of mine, Mickey Jack Combs, I think produced one of his albums, or
Okay.
if I'm wrong, I'm not sure, but Mickey Jack Combs, he's
All
a friend of mine from Nashville. I think he produced one of his records.
Maybe. I don't know his whole discography, but he's gigantic. He's literally playing MetLife Stadium. He gave up on the garden is too small for him now.
Wow, is that something?
Yeah, crazy.
The garden is too small. I never thought I'd hear something like that.
So Funkboy.
My friend Rick. This is my friend Rick that I went to high school with. That's where he's doing now. He's doing that. I'm doing this, and we can't believe our lives.
I know this is a stupid question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Do it, man.
What is your influence of music? It's got to be all funk then, right?
No. That
a little bit of everything.
That name was given to me when I was a DJ at my college station.
Oh, okay.
That's the music I was playing there. No, it's kind of all over the place, Pardon me. My mom had a very hip record collection. She was very into Gladys Knight and the Pips, Stevie Wonder. She had Ike and Tina live at Carnegie Hall. She also had like the Beatles, Yesterday and Today. She had a bunch of show tune albums like Godspell and Jesus Christ Superstar, stuff like that. So I was just lucky. She had a very hip record collection. So I grew up listening to that stuff. Like the first 45 I ever bought was Sly and the Family Stone, If You Want Me to Stay. And the first album I think I bought was probably the Jackson 5's Greatest Hits kind of thing. So I came from that, growing up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was like you're sort of in the middle of the deep Southern soul kind of thing, even though it was a very suburban kind of existence. So it wasn't like I was seeing the Impressions. They're from Chattanooga, for instance. I wasn't like I was seeing them play in nightclubs. But it was around, it's kind of in the DNA, it's in the water kind of thing. So I have that, but because I'm from Tennessee, like all the country stuff, it's in my brain rattling around. I grew up on rock radio like everybody else, so that's in my brain rattling around. So it's kind of all of it. It kind of spread out all over the place.
Cool. And you could read music, but I see a lot of times you're playing and you have I don't know how to read music at all. I have no idea what those notes thing means. So I see that you could play with anybody.
Dots, man. What do these dots mean? Well, because we're rhythm section musicians, players, most of us don't grow up reading. But the kids in the marching band that played the trumpet and the saxophone, they all had the little right. You had the little sheet music attached to your horn, so you grow up reading, right? So what I tell people is I read music well for a bass player, but I read music like a crappy tenor sax player. I don't read music that well at all. But I had to teach myself when I went to Berklee College of Music. It was that was part of the skill set that I was missing because I hadn't grown up doing that. So when you get to Berklee for the first time, they give you a placement exam to see what you know. So I placed into a upper level harmony course because I studied privately with this guy who showed me the whole Berklee harmony system. And then they put me in remedial sight reading 101 because I couldn't read a note. It was awful. So I had to really start from square one, and I really spent a lot of time trying to get it together. And like I said, I read well for a bass player, but that doesn't mean I'm a great sight reader. But I've had to do it, especially all the Broadway stuff. You have to you just have to know what's going on the paperwork. to get the job done, basically.
Well, there's two stories on that real quick, Sal. Before you, there's two stories on that. I have to say, as a music reader, I like to read it, but I also like to improvise a little bit. And I think the improvising that you do makes the sound so much more mellower and smoother because you get into the groove. You know what I mean?
There was an old quote, and I forget who it was. It was one of the old jazz horn guys who said, he said, I can read a little bit of music, but not enough to hurt me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's a different skill set.
I can't read music at all. I mean, I could never get the gigs that you get. Like you said, you get hired for the pit playing the music for the Broadway shows, and I was never able to do that kind of stuff because I just never had a lesson in my life. But I do play guitar, I do play bass, and you've seen me play in the clubs with you guys and all that stuff. But and I had the original band, but I was never learned how to read. I never took a lesson. Everything I did, I taught myself. So.
Right.
So, but I wish I knew how to read,
You're what we call an autodidact. You're self-taught, which is absolutely cool. The thing with the music, with the reading, actually the notes, I recognize that was a skill set that I didn't have, and that if I wanted to have more opportunities, it was something I was going to have to learn. So it was painful, believe me, because I'd been playing for probably 10 years before I sat down, and suddenly you go back to Mary Had a Little Lamb, basically, trying to learn how to read. It's awful. It doesn't feel good. But I recognized sort of for what I wanted to do, because I wanted to be available to do any type of gig, studio, theater pit, touring, whatever. So I just, in the interest of just trying to broaden my own horizons, I decided that was a skill set that I needed to try to get together. And again, I'm not great at it. I'm good, not great. You know what I mean? Like I can exist with it. And I've written thousands of charts, over the years for all the weddings and funerals and bar mitzvahs that I played, all the cover tune gigs, So I write my charts so that if I don't see a song for 3 years, somebody says, "Hey, do you know so-and-so?" I go on the iPad and go click, 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 click. And I go like, "Yep, yeah, I got it." Like it's a memory crutch at this point, to sort of like just be able to cover a huge range of songs. But back in the Bobby Nathan days at the Dark Star Lounge, Bobby would just start playing things, and my ears were just trying to go like, okay, that's a G chord, okay, that's a C, okay, that's E minor. Like I had to follow him, right? I was always like about a half a second behind him, but that was really crucial for developing your ear training. Like Bobby really put me through my paces on that gig, because he was constantly calling Beatles tunes and Hendrix tunes. I just didn't know that I hadn't grown up playing. And I was like, okay, we're going to learn The Wind Cries Mary tonight. I'm like, okay, great, perfect.
Just, the great thing about bass is, though, like if Bobby Nathan was playing an E minor, you just knew that you just played the E note. You didn't have to do E minor. You just played on the bass. There's no E minor. There's just the E note, which goes well with E minor. Absolutely
true. But the bass, you like to know what the next chord is and play the root on the downbeat, right? And if you don't know what the next chord is, you're like,
yeah, of course, of course, absolutely.
It's hard. You gotta read minds a little bit,
I Bobby Nathan still comes to Patchogue every summer here, and I go to the jams every Wednesday, and so many people get a kick out of me because sometimes I'll sing and sometimes I'll play guitar. So if I don't know the song, I just turn the volume down on the guitar and I act like I'm playing. One or two people said to me, "Good, I like that. You look good, even though you weren't even playing." I said, "I don't know the song, so I just turned the sound off."
That's right. That's right. You don't need to know. Fine.
I don't need to know. Everybody else is doing it.
You're like Elvis up there.
Yeah, exactly. Elvis didn't know what they were playing. He just take the guitar and go,
just hold the
do
guitar.
That cool stand,
Strum, strum, strum. All good.
Oh, man. So what's happening right now? Anything new in the works?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, it's winter time, so things slow down a bit. I am about to start learning another Broadway show. There's a new show called Redwood which is in previews now, and my friend Vivi Rama is the bass player over there, and my partner Julie McBride is the music director over there. Starring Idina Menzel. It's her first return to Broadway in about 25 years.
Wow.
And I'm going to start learning that book. They just sent me the sheet music today, so it's going to take me about 3 or 4 weeks to prepare. Because what happens is on a Broadway show when you're subbing, and I've subbed on 15 shows now over the years, there's no rehearsal, there's no audition. Wow. They give you the music, they give you a recording or sometimes a video of the conductor, and they say, call us when you're ready.
Oh,
so
man.
When you're ready, you go in and you do a live performance in front of 1,000 of your closest friends. The conductor, the baton comes down and you're on. Wow. And you have one shot to get it right.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, if they like you, they give you the thumbs up, you can come back. If they don't like you,
goodbye.
They give you the thumbs down and you're done. And you've done a month's worth of homework for nothing, for one gig, So you really have to be on your game. You have to over-prepare because it's live theater. So what if the actor drops a line? What if something goes haywire upstairs? Like, you have to be like almost to the memorized stage. Even though I'm looking at the sheet music, it's almost to the stage where it's memorized before you can go in there and hope to survive, So you almost have to wear a diaper every time you do a first time sub in there because it's such a attention festival. So I got that staring at me, and every time you open up the book of a new show, it just feels like a mountain to climb. And then step by step and song by song and measure by measure, you're like, okay, I can do this. These are all the same 12 notes that I've played before, so just in a different order, that's all.
And you know what, Gene and Ivan, I know Ivan for a long time, and I know so many musicians. And Ivan, as far as I know, as long as I know you don't have to work a day job. You've always made your living playing bass, right?
That is true. This year in September will be 30 years since I've had a day job.
That's fantastic, man. I mean, most 98% of musicians out there can't say that. Yeah. I mean, I know so many musicians
that way more than that.
Good musicians too, like really
good
musicians.
Yeah, great musicians can't get the gigs. I mean, they have to work a day job, or depending on the situation they got themselves into or whatever, they have to, or they can't wait. They can't do it. You know what I mean? It's just like incredible. And I give you so much respect for that, brother. I mean, you even said in your book that you bought your house just on playing bass, correct?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I know exactly how many Russian weddings it takes to buy an apartment in Queens. I know to the penny how many Russian weddings it takes. It's a lot. And let me tell you, it's a lot. It's a lot of Russian wedding gigs.
Yeah,
but, I don't say no to anything. I really, if I can physically get there to the job, I'm going to do it because I got to make the money, I got to pay the mortgage, I got to. But it's also like you stay in practice, you keep your skill set going.
Right.
And more importantly, you don't know what leads to what. For instance, I can give you a concrete example. So that gig that you just talked about, Sal, where you saw me with Peter Wolf, right?
Right.
I wasn't there with Peter Wolf. I mean, I was, but I was there with the Uptown Horns, right? The reason I was in the Uptown Horns band was because I was at Le Barbat one night playing with a blues artist from New Orleans named Timothea Beckerman. It was a $50 gig, and I was playing, and the saxophone player was Crispin Seo from the Uptown Horns that night, right? Mm-hmm. So I met Crispin at Le Barbat on again, $50 blues gig. Nice to meet you. Great playing with you. Everything is cool. Fast forward, I don't know how long, maybe 6 months or something. The Uptown Horns were doing a record release party at the Bottom Line. This is 94, going back to 94. And the bass player on the album was T.M. Stevens. And T.M. was on tour. He wasn't available. So they asked their drummer, who was Crusher Green, the late, great Crusher Green, they said, who would you like to have play bass on the show? We need a bass player. He said, I worked with Crusher Green with the Shirelles, right? So I'd done a couple of jobs with the Shirelles, and the Shirelles was the same thing I was explaining to you about the Broadway thing. They gave you a cassette and a packet of charts, no rehearsal. You just had to show up and play the show and play it perfectly, right? So Crusher saw me do that. I played with him, and he said, he told Chris Pencio, he said, call Ivan. He's a young kid. He does his homework, right? So that led to the Uptown Horns at the Bottom Line, August 24th, 1994, with special guests Vernon Reid, Susie Tyrell, Charlie Giordano, who's now in the E Street Band, and Peter Wolf, and Bernard Fowler was on that night. And then that fast forwarded to that gig you saw me at, Sal. That was at, I don't remember.
China Club.
Oh, China Club. Oh, yeah. Oh, right.
Was that the China Club?
Right. So that all came from just doing the homework. Like I said, like you just don't know what leads to what. So this $50 blues gig at La Barbat turned into later a Peter Wolf gig at the China Club. You know, like you just don't know.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, it's because it's all a matter of being out there and constantly being out there, and people get to know you, and you know more people. It's like, because back then we were all networking, and I was always networking. You know, that's how we met all that China Club. I started China Club networking like 1985, making connections. I met all kind of record company people, and I used to have meetings at record companies and shopping my tape around. And you mentioned Charlie Gargiulo. He's a good friend of mine. Back then, I haven't talked to him in years. You still in touch with him?
Absolutely.
He used to play the keyboard with Pat Benatar.
Pat Benatar, Buster Poindexter.
Buster Poindexter, yeah.
Yep.
Charlie Gargiulo used to wear that little hat, like a Pierre hat. He used to wear. And you still keep in touch with him?
Yeah.
Wow.
Charlie toured with us with Sam Moore.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Like, yeah, he and I have been on the road, all kinds of stuff. Like, so when he first got called with Springsteen, Charlie called me because of what we're talking about. It's the same thing we're talking about. Because I had the iPad that had all the charts on it for all the weddings. So Charlie suddenly had 75 brand new Bruce Springsteen songs to learn, right? And he made his little charts. He's like, he came over to my house and said, you got to help me set up the iPad for the Springsteen gig. I'm like, you got it, pal. So I think he still has the iPad on the Springsteen gig.
Wow.
So yeah, we're pals, man. We've been through the wars. We've been to the campaigns together, he and I.
Me and him used to chat on the phone. I'm going back in the late 80s. Yeah. Right, early 90s, late 80s. And me and him, I used to have his phone number. I used to call him up. We used to chat all the time. But we lost touch. Charlie Gargiulo. When you mentioned his name, I was like, oh, my God. I remember he lived right in Manhattan. He still lives in the city.
Charlie Giordano. It's Italian. Get it right. Giordano.
What did I say? Giordano? I said like
you said gabagool, bag of donuts. I forget what you said.
Charlie Giordano.
Charlie. Yeah. No, he's in Brooklyn now these days. So, people move, things change, but he's doing really well. The Springsteen gig has been just a delight for him. I think it's been great.
Wow.
So Ivan, you play with a lot of great people. Is there anybody you wish you played with that you had that is not here anymore?
You mean? Well, I mean that's a little morbid way to look at it. I don't know. I've met a lot of people and gotten a chance to play with some of my just all-time sort of heroes. I would love to one day do a one-off with Steely Dan. Or with Stevie Wonder, or something like that. There's just a ton of great music with great artists that I'd love to do. But it doesn't mean that even just doing Stevie Wonder music with a bunch of guys. I was playing at the jam session at the Bitter End on Sunday with Danny Keene, the keyboard player. You know Danny, right? Yeah. And we were just doing like a Johnny Guitar Watson tune, doing A Real Mother For You, and it was just the deepest pocket. It was so much fun, playing at the Bitter End on a really cold Sunday night for 30 people. It was great. It was the best. So it's all good to me. It's all good.
Yeah, the Bitter End. I haven't been there in a while. I used to go there a lot and see a lot of people, bands and friends of mine. And of course, before Canada had the jam there, a friend of mine had the jam going on there. I can't remember who it was.
Dave Mann.
That's who it was. That's right.
Dave Mann. That's right. Yep.
Yes.
The man-made jam. That's right. Uh-huh.
The Man Jam. Wow. It's amazing. You know, you think about it, you say to yourself, you feel like the 90s was not a long time ago, but it really is now.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
You
getting
know?
old, but we're getting old, buddy.
You know, yeah. I say to myself, oh, the 90s, that's not that long ago. And then I say, wait a
Oh,
minute,
yeah.
2025? I'm 64? I mean, I don't look it. I sometimes I feel it, but sometimes I don't.
I was playing the Red Lion the other night, and they have a little sign up behind the bar that says, you have to have been born on this date in 2004 to be able to drink. I was like, 2004? Wait a minute. That's how old a 21-year-old is now? I'm like, yeah, we're old, buddy.
How do you stay fit? Do you just play music? What do you do for like extra like stuff to just relax or
run 5 miles every day?
Whoa,
Yeah.
5 miles a day.
Do you really, Ivan? You run 5 miles?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Trying to keep it moving. You use it or lose it. That's what they say, right?
Yeah, and I thought my you remember? I don't know if you remember the guitar player in my band, Kenny Lee, the blonde-haired guy with them. You probably met him a few times.
Yeah.
And he's well, I'm 64. I think he's 2 years older than me. I think he's 66 or whatever. And he jogs like 3 miles a day.
Yeah.
He's like really slim and fit in good shape. And he's also a great guitar player. But he's another one who should have not had to work a day job or even, well, he has his own company.
Right.
But he's still a guitar player that he was, man. I mean, he still is. I mean, he has his own studio. He's got like 400 guitars, and I get together with him. We write songs, we record, and but so many people said he should not had to work a job or start a company. He should have been like you.
The reason he has 400 guitars is because he has his own company. That's why. He can afford to buy all those guitars. If he was a musician, he'd have 2 guitars.
You're right. You're right. He does house inspections, so he makes like 800 a day or whatever.
Good for him.
But still, everybody's back, especially back in the early '80s, and you know, the whole guitar playing thing was going on. You know, I remember a lot of record companies were not interested in my stuff because they were all looking for those sounds, like those, you know, Eddie Van Halen guitar playing styles.
Right.
You know, all those guys, Joe Satriani, and all that kind of stuff was going on. And I kept missing the boat. You know, every time I have a meeting with a record company, they say, oh, you know, we're too pop, wanted to be a little heavy. Then I got a little heavy, and then it changed to grunge, and then it changed to this.
Well, I can tell you, though, as a person formerly on the inside, I was the manager of West Coast publicity for Epic, Portrait, and CBS Associated Labels. That was my title. I had a corporate Amex card. I was in the belly of the beast, right? And I can tell you from personal experience, so many things have to go right for you to get a record release, and then God forbid for it actually to hit. It has to be, it's like hitting the lottery every time. And the record companies don't know what they're doing, never knew what they're doing. There's like, well, this one sounds kind of like the hit we had last week, so we'll try this. You know what I mean? So what you're saying, like, yeah, the flavor of the month kind of thing, like, they're always guessing. They're always guessing. Like, you know, so this guy wrote a hit song last week, so maybe he can write a hit song next week. Okay, but it's probably going to be derivative. So anytime somebody really new and innovative came down the pike, they would miss it every time.
Yeah.
Until they started to have an independent success on their own, then the majors would go, oh, wait. Yeah, we always loved them. Then they would bring them on, you know, once they already had a fan base, already had a following, already had record sales, then they would sign them to the majors, you know. So it's so many things have to go right to get a hit record. And I watched it over and over again because we put out, I forget how many records Epic put out that year. I want to say like 40, 50 albums came out. And I'm looking at the plaque right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them were gold or platinum. So their batting average was 15%, 20%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, and not to say that all the other 40 records that they put out were bad. They weren't. But you have to capture, like, the market has to be right. The radio has to be right. Like, all these things have to go right.
All factors. Yeah.
So many things. And we saw so many good records just go down in flames, and so many, like, questionable records would become hits, and you're like, I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why.
I've seen that in a lot of bands too, and the funny thing is, I play here a lot of indie artists. I actually when I started out 28, 29 years ago, when I started this radio station, HelpTheRadio.net, you're listening to or you're part of, that was actually supposed to be more independent artists with mainstream artists.
Right.
And unfortunately, it went to more mainstream artists because that's what people wanted. But now they're going back, and we want to hear more indie artists because they're local artists. They always thought that indie artists meant Indian artists. I'm like, no, I don't play Indian artists. I mean, I do, but it's not like, it's just a abbreviation of the word independent.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that too is a lot of people don't realize that independent artists can be from a big band that people knew about, but just don't know the name of that person from that band.
That's right. Yeah, it's the marketplace is ever changing, ever morphing. Like it's really hard to sort of like carve out a niche for yourself at any level of the business. It's almost like a magic trick. It's almost like buying a lottery ticket.
It is.
When it works, it's great. But it doesn't work way more times than it does work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for all of us too, I played at La Barbat way more times than I played at, any 1,000-seat theater. You know what I mean? It's what we do. You got to kiss a lot of frogs, hoping they'll turn into a prince.
La Barbat was a great place. I liked La Barbat a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just using it as an example of a small venue,
Yeah, the smaller venues.
Yeah.
Sometimes smaller venues, I know people would fly in from London.
Yeah.
For one night just to play at CBGB's because they loved it. And
Legendary.
meantime, we were here, and I'm like, I don't want to play it. And people would fly in, and there's Club February's in Elmont, Long Island. Little club, February's it was called. And these bands would be flying in from England and Australia, and they play at these clubs where I'm like, what do I play there for? It's like, well, yeah, I live a few blocks away from it. It's like, but I guess it's like a band over here. Ooh, we're going to go to London and play a gig in a club in London.
Right.
So in their mind, it's like we're going to New York. We're going to play in New York. Squeeze. I used to hang out with Glenn Tilbrook from Squeeze.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Glenn Tilbrook. And he loved to play CBGB's. Boy, he wanted to come there all the time, CBGB's.
A legendary room, like all the people that got started there in the 70s,
Exactly.
World famous too. But you come in from London and suddenly you're like, the exotic band in from out of town, and vice versa. Like if we went over there, we'd be like, oh, the Americans are coming to play in London, kind of thing. But if you're local, you're kind of like, we've seen these guys,
That just goes to like, I got a piece of ice in my mouth. I couldn't even talk. It's just like, we live in New York, right?
Yeah.
90%, maybe 100% of the people live in New York. Never went inside the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
Fly from. I even wrote a song about it. People fly from all over the world.
Yeah.
Like my relatives came from Italy. That's where they wanted to see Statue of Liberty at the time, the World Trade Center, all this kind of stuff. Meantime, we live here. It's like you don't even want to go. Don't even bother. It's like not a big deal. So the same thing with the bands.
Right.
You're going to play it. We're going to go to London and play a club, the Cavern, because the Beatles played there. Meantime, it's probably a hole in the wall.
It is.
Right? But it's just got that kind of history and stuff, like CBGB's.
Yeah.
And everybody used to go to CBGB's in the 80s looking for bands.
I played the new Marquee Club in London, which the old Marquee was where the Who got started, and I was like, oh, it's the Marquee Club, Marquee Club. So, it's like the bitter end, the bottom line, like any of the clubs that we played in New York. It just happens to be it's in London, and that's where those bands came from. So,
right. So the bands from New York say, "Oh, I'm on the same stage that the Who was on." Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then you get the people who play that Woodstock, who people freak out that they play the Woodstock, but some of the bands that say that was the worst gig I ever did. They couldn't get in. I was talking to. I was talking with at China Club with a few people. Richie Haven was at the China Club when I would talk about the Woodstock gig. Who else? I can't remember. I know there's one or two other ones. Richie Haven I talked to.
Richie, I met Richie once. He was a very nice man.
Oh,
really
wasn't
nice
he wonderful?
Yeah,
oh my God, so religious and
sweet guy. Sweet guy, yeah.
Joe Cocker, I chatted with at the China Club about the. He said no. At the time, he was like not even really that known. Nobody even knew who he was.
We did a Woodstock 50th anniversary celebration gig at this festival down in North Carolina, and we did it with our band, the Days of Wild, the funk band we do at the Red Lion. But what we were doing was we were being the band for Greg Arico from Sly and the Family Stone. So we played with Greg. We played the whole Sly and the Family Stone, the Woodstock set. We did that down in North Carolina in 2019, and it was like, and my dad was one of the. He lived in North Carolina at the time before he passed away, so he got to come out and see the show. So it was really nice, sort of having that kind of like, you know, Woodstock connection with the guy who was actually there, because Greg was there. You know, he played there. It was neat. It was even though, but yeah, I'm sure his stories. The show was a nightmare, you know.
Yeah. Now look at Megan. Hi, Megan. Say hello to Megan, everybody.
Hey, Megan.
Hey, Megan.
You know Megan, right, Ivan?
I just talked to her last week. Yeah.
Right. She's checking out the show. Yeah, all right.
Thank you for being here, Megan.
I was on her show twice. She's got a great show. She's really.
We got to get her on our show. We got to get her on your show.
Definitely, Megan. We got to get her on here and interview Megan. She's like, she knows everything about the Beatles more than the Beatles.
She does.
The Beatles don't even know the stuff about themselves that Megan knows.
She's got a lot of energy too. She's a good interviewer.
She's everywhere. I mean, anything going on, she's there. But and like I said, going back to what I said, I live right next to Kennedy Airport. What was that big Beatles thing? I'm like literally 10 minutes. I could probably walk to Kennedy Airport. And she flew in. Megan, where did you fly in from? Type it on the wall that you came in from Chicago or something with a dad. Did you play any of those gigs at that Beatles? There she was. TWA. It was a TWA.
Trans World.
Did you play any of those gigs, Ivan?
The Beatles on the Beach? No, I haven't done that one yet.
Not yet. Okay, but did you do the stuff at the Kennedy Airport?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Because I wanted
to
go. Mark Rivera was playing all kinds of things. Right?
Cool.
I want Mark Rivera to get one of my Christmas songs to Ringo Starr. So, you know, I get one of the Beatles to record one of my songs.
Yeah, why not?
Megan, that's your job, Megan. You got to talk to Ringo. What did she say there? My eyes are so damn blurry, I can't read.
Oh, I can read it. I flew in from Fort Lauderdale to New York last year.
Yeah, she
flew in. Because I got to read it to the audience that's listening, too, on the radio.
That's right.
They can't hear or they can't see anything.
Oh, I'm glad you could. Definitely, yeah. Read it out loud, Gene. Read it out loud, brother. Yeah. So, any questions for Ivan, Gene?
Ivan, I got a couple more things for you. Yeah. Since you're around the New York area, you know some of my friends like Vinny Zumo. He was from the Joe Jackson band. Good bass player too. Yeah. Gordon Townsend was with Alan Parsons and a couple of great bands, and he was doing a lot of '60s stuff. And Pepe Castro from the Blues Magoos.
Oh yeah, sure.
You probably know all of them, right?
Well, you know, we're in this. It's a small town, man.
Yeah.
You run into people and you see.
I love them guys.
And yeah, it's a lot.
Especially in the music scene. I mean, you know, music spot in New York. You know, it's just like L.A. Music spots. You know, the music. Back in the '80s, remember in L.A., Ivan and Gene, they had the heavy metal thing was going on. What did make?
I knew Pepe. I interviewed him. See, Pepe.
Pepe. Okay.
Yeah, I interviewed Pepe when he was in Florida. Well, he's still in Florida now. And Pepe was, because he was with a band called Balance in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't like, well, I don't ever heard of Balance. Well, we heard some of their songs, but you don't know who they are. They're on YouTube and stuff. But his music is really iconic. It's really good the way he does it. And he did something with Richie Havens years ago. I don't know if you know it, but he did, I think, Here Comes the Sun with him.
Nice. Well, it's funny to say because, New York is, the 8 million people in the 5 boroughs and probably 20 million people in the metro area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut.
Yeah.
But it's a small town.
Yeah.
It's a small town. Like you're going to run into people, especially, as you say, in the music scene. You're going to be at the same lanes, the same clubs, the same theaters. Like you're going to see people, so you got to be good to people because you're going to see them. The people you meet on the way up, you're going to meet them on the way back down.
You know what's funny? And then this is not a knock on anybody, but a lot of the people in California, because of the fires and all the water and stuff and the drought, whatever it is, are moving back to the East Coast.
Yeah.
So you're going to be seeing a lot more celebrities coming back.
Maybe
New York area, yes.
Because that's going to be that's going to be a natural disaster thing, because the fires, the wildfires in California have been increasingly bad over the last decade or so, but they've been usually up in the mountains and stuff. So now it's coming down into the city. It's like, yeah, it displaced a lot of people. And I had some friends of mine who are from New Orleans who got displaced by Katrina. To move out to New York, to LA, and now they've been displaced by the wildfires. Like, they know how to evacuate, some of my friends. They know how to pack up and go.
Yeah. So we're back, pretty much done with the interview. But is there anything else you want to add, Sal, or anything that you want to add, Funkboy, where people can find you, find your music, maybe see you perform somewhere?
Funkboy.net, Funkboy.net. It's got links to everything. It's got links to all the new music that I've been putting out. I've been putting out a new song every about 3 or 4 weeks. Stuff that got recorded during the pandemic, with the lockdown. We were able to do things long distance with some of my friends all over the world. And then the book's on Amazon. Am I Famous Yet? Memoir of a Working Class Rock Star. That's actually done really well, and people seem to really enjoy it who've checked it out. And that's it, man. I'm working for a living. I'm punching the clock. I'm playing rock and roll. I'm playing blues. I'm playing jazz, whatever they'll have me do. Looking forward to this new Broadway show I'm working on, and whatever comes next. Every time we get to January 1st, the calendar goes back to 0, right? So I always open, a new calendar year going like, what's going to happen this year? I have no idea. I've been fooling people for 30 years. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it again. Each year I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this again. We'll see what happens. And then I get to December 31st and I go, yep, fooled them again. So
that's
hopefully
it.
More of the same for this year.
One day at a time, and give it your best with everything,
That's right.
As long as we have a happiness.
Send your music here to this website, my email too.
Yeah.
So I can play their music for you. I play all the other guys' music, so.
Be happy to.
The music on the poster is one of Ivan's. The poster.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a song called Crab Walk that features Moses Moe from the band Mother's Finest. He's playing guitar on that one.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
One more thing before we leave. I didn't think about it during the show. Ivan, you've played with Killer Joe, right? Many times.
Many times.
And Killer Joe was on the show. We had Killer Joe on the show. I love Killer Joe. That's right. I should have mentioned that earlier. What's that?
Killer Joe, yeah. He was good.
Too much. Yeah, Killer Joe and Ivan know each other very well. And it's like you said, it's all...
I know Killer as long as I know you. So I know him a long time.
Oh, wow. You know him that long?
Yeah. We go way back.
No, I don't know him that long. I met him through my wife, with my wife and his girlfriend, Lisa.
Yep.
Worked together.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
And then my wife said, we got to go see my friend Lisa's band play on the beach here in Long Island. And Killer Joe was on the stage, but we were friends on Facebook. And Killer Joe said to the whole audience, the mayor of rock and roll is in the audience tonight. I can't believe it. Sal Sergio, let's have a man. All of a sudden, the whole beach is clapping for me.
Nice. When I was working with the late, great Frankie Paris, we were doing 4 nights a week at Arthur's Tavern in the West Village. Killer would come down and sit in and play harmonica and sing with us. So, I know him a long time. I think I met him probably at the Triad. I want to say the Triad, maybe.
This was Triad? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it goes way back, yeah.
Now, why do I know that name, Frankie Paris? Where is that from?
Frankie Paris was one of the greatest Italian soul singers you've ever seen in your life. He was originally from Boston. He was a legend in New York. He had a band called Dawn that got signed to Bell Records in 1971, and they recorded a song called Candida.
Oh, Jesus.
Right?
Before Tony Orlando got it.
Hang on. They recorded it. The Tokens produced it. Frankie Paris was the lead singer of the band.
Right.
Dawn. At the last minute, the Tokens said, I think we need a voice on here that's a little less soul and R&B, maybe a little more pop commercial. So they took Frankie's voice off, and they put Tony Orlando's voice on. It became a hit. Candida was a big hit.
Yeah, it was a big hit. Yeah.
But Tony, God bless him, was an A&R guy working for Clive Davis at the time. So he wasn't going to tour. So this record was a hit record. There was a band called Dawn featuring Frankie Paris that was toured. Frankie toured with Dawn singing Candida for a year as the lead singer of Dawn.
That's crazy.
And then they said, we need a follow-up a record for this. So they recorded a second song called Knock 3 Times. Right? The Tokens produced.
Right.
And that when they had their second top 10 hit, Tony Orlando had to go into Clive Davis's office and say, listen, I got a secret. I've been moonlighting with this band, Dawn. And Clive Davis said, this is the worst kept secret in the music business. We all know that. Go do it. So Frankie went back to the clubs. Tony took over the helm of Dawn, and, the rest is history. But Frankie, I played with him 5 nights a week at Arthur's Tavern in
that's nice.
4.5 hours a night, 4 nights a week. We were doing 20 hours a week of just playing funk, soul, R&B, playing hard, playing loud. That's when we sort of got our chops together and figured out what we were doing and how to be entertainers in New York. Frankie was a good time. I owe him a lot. I really do.
Wow, that's a interesting story. Thanks for sharing that, because I would have never known that. Never known that.
This has been a fantastic show. I really enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
We went so over only because it's so much fun. I mean, we just we could talk all night long with the people we know and the things we've done. I just love shows like this.
Too much yapping.
Too much get ons, And Tony Orlando's a great guy. I met him a couple of times. He doesn't even, you wouldn't even think he's such an icon just by hanging out. I met him at the Chiller conventions, and I spent 3 days there, and we became hey, Sal, what's up, buddy? Then, it's hey, Tony. And I even asked him, I said, you're going to record, how about recording my Christmas songs? He said, I don't record no more, he said. He just signs autographs at the convention.
I just played with him and the original Dawn, the two ladies in Dawn.
Wow, really?
WABC.
Is there anything on YouTube of that? Is there any video of that?
In September of last year, we just did it. It's Tony Orlando and Dawn. I got to play with the original with Thelma Hopkins and the other lady. What's her name?
Is there any?
Yeah, that's the problem. Nobody can remember the other lady. I feel bad. It's always Thelma we remember.
Well, you know why? Because Thelma was on TV for 50 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any video of you were playing with Tony Orlando on YouTube or anything?
It was on channel. It was on the news. I have people come up to me all the time. It's I saw you on Channel 12. I'm like, doing what? Singing with Tony Orlando. Oh yeah, that happened. Yeah.
All right. Well, we better let Ivan go. He's probably got to.
Yeah, you're an incredible guy, Ivan. We got to get you back sometime. And if anything you got new coming out and you want to promote something, just give Sal a call. And
I know. Me and Ivan keep in touch all the time.
Be happy to.
Ivan's still packed.
More than glad to.
I talked to Ivan one more day. It was the Mike Tyson fight with Mike Tyson, and the whole world was at home, and Ivan was doing a gig. And I said, there's probably not going to be anybody in the clubs. They're all watching the Mike Tyson fight. And Ivan said, no, the club was still packed.
People there.
And it made me think. I said, back in the old days, I didn't know. And it was Joanne. Joanne Phillips.
She's a fan now. Thank you, Joanne. We love you too.
Joanne's an excellent bass player. Do you know her, Ivan? Do you know Joanne?
Of course I do.
You know?
Of course.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Yeah.
I think like you said, he knows everybody.
Everybody. That's it. We were all in the circle, the music scene. And they were in the biz,
Joyce Vincent. That was the other lady in Dawn.
Joyce Vincent, right, yeah.
Thelma Hopkins. Yep.
I got to try to find that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody listening on the radio, and thank you for all on YouTube and Facebook. We'll have new guests hopefully next week, and we'll see Ivan down the road. And Ivan, send your music to me. Sal, you got my email. You can send it to him if he didn't get it. And also, keep on doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah,
and for whoever's watching, and it's the video, what we just saw was live on YouTube, and now as soon as we come off, it's on YouTube forever. So if anybody missed the show, just go on YouTube and it's there. Just put in the Mayor of Rock and Roll and Friends. Brother Ivan will show up.
Came right up when I just looked for it. It came right up, yeah.
Right there, ready, right? Okay, cool. All right, we better let Ivan go because it's going to be like 12.
Hi, Ivan. Have a good night, my friend. Nice meeting you.
Thanks, brother.
Keep plucking.
Great show.
Okay.
Always give me the confetti again.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye-bye. Okay.